الأمريكي كوزينيتش وسبعة آخرين من الديمقراطيين واثنين من الجمهوريين لإيقاف هذه الحرب ومقاضاة أوباما لمشاركته في هذه الحرب. ماذا قال السيد لويس فاركان وكذلك السيد رمزي كلارك وكل من تداخل معهم نتابعه مع بعض لنضع المشاهد في الصورة كاملة.
It is a murderous assault by the United States, the United Nations, and NATO on the people of Libya. It's the last in a long line of assaults on Arab and Muslim peoples. For 20 years now, the cradle of civilization, Iraq, has been systematically attacked and destroyed under the leadership of my country, the United States. We see the long struggle in Afghanistan. We see drones invading the sovereignty of Pakistan and threatening to invade the sovereignty of Yemen. There's no end to it. The United States has supported dictators over the Arab people for years and years. We supported Mubarak to the very end, in spite of the patent, massive revolution of the people. Finally, after suffering under Sadat and Mubarak, because of the United States backing there, and it has to end. We tried to assassinate the leader of the Libyan people in 1986. It was a sneak attack. Planes from Lakenheath Air Force Base in England, flying all the way around the Iberian Peninsula and coming through the Straits of Gibraltar, coming right off the sea. And what did they hit first? They hit the compound that we're seeing every day on television. They hit his office. They hit his tent out in the compound there. They hit his home. They killed a daughter. This time they've killed 3 grandchildren. Is there no end to it? Is there no decency? Are the people of the planet powerless to end such tyranny and violence? It's absolutely essential that we stand up, that this institution across the street that was created to end the scourge of war stop initiating and supporting the scourge of war for superpowers like the United States. Assassinations are something we know about too. There were 3 in my time in the Department of Justice. Everyone heartbreaking, of a great moral leader. And it has to stop. It needs to stop right now. We need to call a cessation to the arms fight and a peace settlement of any dispute that exists there. But the support of the people for Colonel Gaddafi seems pretty obvious. They've been.
Good afternoon. And again, we come to draw attention to the imperialist aggression in our homeland, Africa. It is very clear to us that what's afoot, if we go back to Brzezinski's chessboard, that Africa at this point is the focal point for the empire's recolonization. There are 2 extremely important countries on the continent of Africa at this point. One such is the sovereign country of Libya, and that it is very clear that the bombing, the aggression, the attempt at the murderous assassination of a leader sits well with the government of the United States. We are calling on African people throughout the United States, and I say African people in particular, because it is Africa. It is Africa which is at this time in the crosshairs. The attempted assassination of President Muammar Gaddafi and the illegal sanctions on the Republic of Zimbabwe. These 2 countries are the stalwart countries who resist the militarization of the continent vis-a-vis Farrakhan. So that we are calling on people throughout the United States to join us August 17th, August 13th, here in Harlem, where we are calling millions of our people to understand our relationship between here and Africa, between the United States and Africa, that we are under attack, and that we must mobilize the millions of our people, because we are clear from the teachings of Dr. John Henry Clark that it must be Pan-Africanism or we perish. Thank you.
Yes, I can. Thank you, Akbar. I would just like to say that the international media are here. U.S. media are here. But the truth is nowhere to be found. Since I have been in Tripoli and its metropolitan area, I can say that I have been an eyewitness to terror. An eyewitness to NATO terror. I have seen this terror in people's homes, in the mosque, at schools, and even at community parties. No place is safe. The House of Representatives cut off the funding, and yet there was a 24-hour news blackout in the United States. The American people didn't even know what their own Congress had done because the U.S. press refused to broadcast it. It is correct that the first casualty of war is truth. War is a racket, and nowhere is more evident than right here in Libya. I commend the members of the House of Representatives, the members of Congress, who voted to cut off the funding for this adventure of our government, and those members of Congress who have the intention of taking the Obama administration to court to force the Obama administration to respect the U.S. Constitution and the War Powers Act. Thank you so much, Akbar, for having me here.
Thank you. Sister Kenny, could you stay on the line? We're going to try to have you to listen in. Minister Farrakhan will be speaking next. Thank you very much. So stay on the line.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we give him praise and thanks for his goodness and his mercy to the human family. That whenever any member of this family strays from his straight path and earns his displeasure, before he punishes, he always raises from among the people a prophet or a messenger to whom he gives what is called divine revelation, by means of which that people can be guided back to his favor. And we thank him for these prophets and messengers of God, Moses and the Torah, Jesus and the Gospel, Muhammad and the Quran. I am a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I could never thank Allah enough for his intervention in our affairs in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, the great Mahdi, who came among us and raised from among us the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, particularly to reform black people in America and to raise black people in America, black people throughout the world, and to warn America and the world of what's happening now and will continue to get worse. I am here this morning and I am happy to see the press, but it's irrelevant to me if you print one word or no words. I'm here to make a statement. And when I finish, if you wish to ask me questions, you're welcome. I'm here to discuss the current state of affairs in Libya and the actions taken by the United Nations with respect to Security Council Resolution 1973 passed on the 17th of March, 2011. I'm addressing my remarks to the United Nations and all those who have joined to destroy brother leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi and the Libyan Jamahiriya. What is the justification for such an action that was taken by the Security Council of the United Nations? If the Security Council passed Resolution 1973 to protect the civilian population of Libya from the so-called evil intentions of the leader of Libya, why then is NATO, under the auspices of the Security Council, forgetting about humanitarian concerns and now using Resolution 1973 as a pretext to assassinate Muammar Gaddafi and create regime change? Why is the UN fostering, through NATO, armed rebellion to create civil war, knowing that in a civil war, the humanitarian concerns go out the window? Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said, "Gaddafi's days are numbered. We are working to plan for the inevitable, a post-Gaddafi Libya." Russia says Gaddafi has lost the moral right to lead Libya after attacking his own people. The actions of NATO, along with the United States, Canada, Qatar, and members of the Arab League, engaging in this errant behavior, are creating conditions that will ultimately bring about the destruction of the United Nations and all those engaged in this action. Blinded by arrogance and the sense of power of these nations that they can do what they will, they cannot fathom the consequences of their actions. They think they're on a good course in which all of the vultures will benefit. But in the end, all of you will see that you have signed on to that which will ultimately bring about your utter destruction.
إذن مشاهدينا، هذه آخر الكلمات من السيد لويس فاركان، وقبله تداخلت السيدة سينتيا ماكيني وكذلك السيد رمزي كلارك ومجموعة اجتمعوا في الولايات المتحدة لإظهار الحقيقة وتحدثوا بكل صراحة عما يحدث من انتهاك القرارات وقتل المدنيين وانتهاك حقوق الإنسان.
نعم، وقد أعطيت لكم ملخص